I request permission to teach Dharma today. Today, there are some people that came by van from quite far, Ubon province. They planned to come to the temple here. They didn't plan any sightseeing for the trip. In the past, I would travel to learn from the masters. I would go to the northeast or up north, which are quite far. But I didn't take a van. I would take a coach or the train. These days there are vans that we can hire. Those didn't exist in my time. It was difficult to travel distances. At times, I would arrive and the master was not there, or he was incapacitated, and I would not get the chance to report to him. In the past, it was much more difficult to visit the masters. Still, my time was easier than the time of Luang Pu Dun and the other old masters. They would have to walk. Me, I would take a coach or the train. These days, it's easy. We can just go on the internet and listen to Dhamma. But I noticed something. We see the value in things that are difficult to obtain. We don't see the value in the same way of things that we get too easily. It used to be so difficult to be able to visit a master. I work and collect holidays and would not go anywhere, so that when I would have the time I could go and visit the masters. Occasionally, when I would sit and learn with Luang Pu Dun, I would not record it or write it down. He was not in favor of that. He wanted us to sit and meditate, and he would be silent for a while. When it was appropriate to teach, he would. Some masters, though, would have us sit and meditate, and would start teaching immediately. Each master is different. Luang Pu Dun would not give Dhamma talks. Going to see Luang Pu Dun, we would prostrate and then sit quietly until he would say just one short thing. Having the opportunity to listen to the Dhamma those days was not an easy feat. So our minds were focused, listening carefully. After listening, we would contemplate and use the teaching wisely in our practice. When we listen to Dhamma in a group, only some of it is for us. When the master teaches, there may be 100 people listening. In the old days, it was hundreds. These days, it's thousands. So 100 people listening, and each person meditating there. When the master would give a talk, occasionally the teaching would strike us, leave an impression, our mind would wake up and listen. But when the Dhamma being expounded wasn't for us, then we'd just continue quietly with our practice. In the past, that's how we learned the Dhamma. There weren't lectures or courses, step by step and whatnot. There was just us doing our practice in front of the teacher. When he would teach things for particular people or particular groups, and it was not particularly for us, then our mind would just practice quietly within ourselves. When he would arrive at the teaching, there was a point for us. The mind would wake up. We were not sleeping, but the mind would come out of the peaceful state and receive the current of Dhamma. That's the way we learn Dhamma, by transmission from the Master's heart to ours. The great monasteries don't hold retreats or have a particular program. If we are diligent practitioners and we visit a master or listen to them, our heart will connect with our teacher. That doesn't mean we are sending our mind out to bother him. We just do our practice. And our mind or heart senses the presence of his heart. And he will expound the Dhamma in that moment for us, specifically the point that we require in that moment, or the place that we are at in our practice and not sure how to move further. That's the way that most of the masters I learned from would teach. I never felt that it was any type of miracle or amazing psychic ability being shown off. The masters never asked anything of me. I would go to him with a humble mind, with humility, the utmost respect, the desire to be good and to practice well. There was no interest in showing off development or any egoic purposes at all. Doing so, we don't arrive at the truly good teachings. I have told you all many times, when I was stuck somewhere in my practice and I would go to visit a master, I would not even have to ask him and he would already answer. Many masters teach in that way. Except for example, Luang Pu Suwat. Before I was a monk, I had been practicing to a point where the mind had released the mind. Once that happened, once that state was there for a while, the mind grabbed the mind once again. When the mind released and then picked the mind back up, if we have not practiced that to that point, we will not understand what that means. You will think, what is he talking about? I have not seen that in the scriptures. It is a true phenomenon and we may not be able to understand it. But anyhow, the mind would release the mind and then pick it back up again and again. I would think, what do I need to do so I can release the mind permanently and not pick it back up? In a Buddhist chant, it says the 5 aggregates are a burden. We carry this burden around and thus are not free from suffering. The noble ones, the Arahants, have released this burden and do not pick it up again. They then are liberated from suffering. The mind is within the 5 aggregates, but it's the hardest of all aggregates to release. It's much harder to release than the body is. The mind is very subtle. The body is much more obviously something that is suffering and under oppression. But when the mind is happy and peaceful, it really seems like it is such a pleasant and wonderful thing. It is not easy to release something that is so good and of such a high quality. But at times, the mind, for me, would release the mind. The 5 aggregates are a burden, and it would release the burden. But there were only Arahants that would release the mind and never pick it up again. So it is in one of the chants, Para have Panchakanda. So I thought, why does the mind get released, but then it's once again retrieved? It's a burden, just like all the other aggregates. The body is a burden. We wake up in the morning and we have many responsibilities. We have to make our bed in servitude to the body for the next day. We proceed to urinate and defecate, shower, brush our teeth and wash up, prepare breakfast. These are all burdens. Then we escort the body to work. Yet another burden, bringing the body to the car or the bus. Some people take the train to work. For others, there's the burden of driving. Then we sit at work, the body having to do all the duties. It's tiresome, as tired as we are when we get home. We have to freshen up once again and go to sleep. We sleep for maintenance of this suffering body. When the body doesn't rest and is too tired, it is very painful. The body is riddled with suffering from morning until night, and then continues the suffering once again. When we have mindfulness, we'll see that aches and pain exist even while we are sleeping, and we have to shift to the left, shift to the right all night. We shift dozens of times during the night, back and forth. This body is suffering itself. We have to go out there and make money so that we have food to eat. The body has to do this hard work. It has to do the work in eating and defecating. It is easy to see if we observe. Those that are not Buddhist or have not listened to the Buddha's Dhamma are able to see this too, that the body is suffering, that it is a burden. If we move to more subtle aggregates like Vedana or the feelings, there are pleasant feelings, unpleasant and neutral feelings. When there are unpleasant feelings, we suffer. When there are pleasant feelings, we do not see it as suffering. When it feels neutral, we do not feel that there is suffering. It is hard to see the truth of suffering with Vedana. The suffering of the body is right in front of our face, but we will not sense that Vedana is always suffering. We see that there is suffering only when there are unpleasant feelings. But when there is pleasantness in the heart or indifference, we do not see that that is suffering. It takes a long time of practicing to see that there is turbulence that occurs. The peace is broken and weightlessness is sacrificed. When the happiness that occurs is coarse, like sense pleasure, the heart will be turbulent from the sense pleasure. When we are truly strong practitioners, we will see that even when there is genuine happiness, that there is still suffering of mind. Happiness is not really worth our pursuit. It is actually something that brings us suffering. The same is true for neutral feelings, although it is even more subtle to see. Seeing equanimity as suffering is not an easy feat. In the Sankhara aggregate, mental formations, it's hard to see the truth of suffering. There are wholesome and unwholesome formations. When the mind is unwholesome, it is suffering. That is easy to see. But when the mind is wholesome, there is happiness, and we would neglect to observe. So there are some hard things to see in the mental formations. Like when the mind is wholesome, sometimes we're entranced by it, enjoying the happiness and peace. We make merit and then we gloat because of it. Others feel more harshly. Some people take a look at their teacher and then rapture occurs. Rapture is a mental formation, sankhara. When rapture occurs, the mind is turbulent, moving around. Seeing rapture clearly, it does not seem to have any rhyme or reason to it. It arises and puts the mind off balance, shifting this and that way. Observe and see when anger arises. The mind is not happy. Any type of aversion, and the mind is not happy. Only the practitioners will see this. Most people cannot see this stuff. When the mind is angry, people will look at the person or the thing that made them angry. They will not see that the mind is angry. When greed arises, they look at the person or the things, whatever it was that made them greedy. They do not see that their mind is presently greedy. When there is greed, the mind is either happy or neutral. But when the mind is angry, there is suffering. The angry mind is unhappy, so it is the easiest to see. Greed is harder to see than anger. When observing our mind, the mental formations know that anger is easiest to see because it is unhappy. When there is suffering, we do not want it to be that way. When there is greed or craving, sometimes there is happiness or feeling neutral, one or the other, when there is greed. So, when there is happiness, we are just enjoying and we do not look and see that there is happiness. The mind loses its freedom and its balance, moving and shifting under the influence of craving. When the mind has craving, it is interested only in the thing that it is pleased with or it is pretty. The mind goes to look at the attractive person or the beautiful flowers and such. Whatever we like, the mind will find enjoyment in looking at it or listening to music, entranced by songs. The mind moves out to listen to the song and does not see that the mind has craving. Luang Pu Dun thus thought that practicing Dhamma is not hard. It is only hard for non-practitioners. Those that don't practice are those that are lost and entranced by forms, sounds, scents, flavors, bodily sensations. In our stories and our thoughts, the mind is lost in these ways. When we practice, we are not any different from those who do not. Our eyes see forms and sometimes there is happiness, sometimes unhappiness, sometimes neutral feeling, pleased at times and not at others, greed sometimes, aversion at times, or lost. When we practice or not, these same things arise. But for those that do not practice, once there's happiness, unhappiness, good or bad states that arise, they are interested in what's outside of themselves. They are interested in forms, sounds, scents, flavors, textures, their thoughts and ideas. They're not interested in themselves, in studying themselves, in seeing what their mind is like. And when there is no interest in our own mind, there's no practice, there's no learning the body and mind. The practice is learning the truth of the body and the mind. Those that do not practice and those that do are not any different. These eyes see just the same. The ears hear sounds, the nose smells scents, the tongue tastes flavors, and the body makes contact with textures, cold, hot, soft, hard, tight, or loose. These type of things, and the mind makes contact with thoughts and ideas. Both types of people make contact with the world just the same. But those that do not practice or practice incorrectly, once they are interested in something, the thing that they make contact with, the form, the sound, the flavor, the scent, the texture, all the things that they are thinking about. For the true practitioners, once there is this contact, they are not interested in what is outside of themselves. They come back and see themselves. They are interested in their own heart and their own body. That is the only difference. The body makes contact just the same. It makes contact with pleasant and unpleasant things depending on our karma and its results. If we have a lot of merit, some people don't practice, but they have merit, they have accumulated. So they have pleasant things that they make contact with all the time. They are with pleasant people. Their home is nice, their profession is nice and smooth. They acquire money easily. Whatever they want, they get it. These people have made a lot of merit, well, in the past. But if they do not practice, then they would not be able to continue that and improve it. So we here are practitioners. So let's not be like those that don't learn Dhamma. So when the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind make contact with objects, study your own body and mind. When you make contact with something unpleasant, an aversion starts, like looking at this person's face and start getting angry. If they are scolding us, if we are competent in watching the mind, then we see the anger arise. If we are competent in watching our body, then we will notice the changes there, moving from that of a human to one a demon of sorts. Sometimes we turn into a mad dog wanting to bite. We can feel the expression on our face change according to what we are feeling. We can just look at some people's faces and know that they are perverted because the face just shows it. When our heart is a particular way, you can see it in the face. For those that observe the body, when anger arises, if we have watched the body often as the anger is arising, we will notice perhaps that we are making fists or there's tension occurring. If we have practiced mindfulness by watching the body and there is a change in the body, mindfulness will arise on its own. We will see the movement of the body and then we will know that aversion has arisen in the mind. But if we are skilled at watching the mind, then we do not need to observe the body. We'll see the anger that comes up directly. So, observing the mind is difficult for many only because we neglect to observe it. We are angry and we just look at the thing that made us angry. We are greedy and we just look at the thing that made us greedy or made us crave. We just get lost and enamored by it. So try to keep watching. It is not hard. It is just hard if we do not watch. Luang Pu Dun thus thought, the practice is not hard. It is only hard for those who do not practice. You have read and studied many books, so now study your own mind. Notice, observe your own mind. For those that are developing Citta Nupassana, insight into the mind, you see the mind that has greed and does not have greed, the mind that has aversion and does not have aversion, the mind that is lost and the mind that knows, the mind that is busy and the mind that is stuck. There are the four pairs to observe frequently. The body is easy to see. All we have to do is practice a short time and we will see that it is suffering. Some vedana are easy to see, like feeling unpleasant and easy to see because the mind does not want that. But happy and neutral feelings, to observe those and release from them, that is not easy. It is difficult to see the mental formations, sankhara, until we release from them because we do not want to look at them. We rarely look at them. We mostly have our attention outside of ourselves and do not come back to ourselves. The mind itself, or consciousness, is the hardest to observe. But if we keep practicing, one day the mind will release the mind. It might release it and then it will pick it right back up. Then no matter what we do, it will not release it again. When that happened to me, I was not yet a monk. When the mind released the mind, it wanted to maintain that experience. I wanted to ask Luang Pu Suwat about it. He had returned from America and was at Suantip Monastery on Wat Gu Street. I quickly got in my car and went to meet him. I wanted to ask him about this mind that released the mind and how to manage to make that permanent. When I started to drive, the mind picked up the mind again, and I kept trying to release, but it just wouldn't. So I was focusing on it, concentrating on it, and it would not fall away. It would not release it. I had all kinds of tricks, but none of them worked. I was driving from Nonthaburi, and then when I arrived at the top of the street in Pak Krep, I felt discouraged. Oh, the mind is not a self. I cannot order it. The mind picked up the mind, and I cannot order it to let go. The mind is not non-self. The mind saw that. And when I saw that, I released the mind right then and there. When it released, I thought, oh, good, I'll hurry to ask Luang Pu about it and how I can maintain this. When I arrived where he was staying, just in a small hall in a small residence. I sat waiting for him. After a little while, a monk rode him out in a wheelchair. He was paralyzed from a car accident. He rode him out, and I paid my respects. There were many people there. The room was full, and we were all sitting tightly against each other. I prostrated, and he smiled this way, then smiled that way. I was sitting to his left, and he was looking to his right, and smiling a sweet smile, looking the other way. Then he just said, "When we practice Dhamma, sometimes the mind releases the mind. When that happens, it then picks the mind right back up again. What do we do to try to make it release again? Whatever we do to try to make it release again does not work. Not until our wisdom knows and sees that the mind is non-self. Then the mind will release on its own." When he finished saying that, he turned to me and smiled. I knew that he had answered my question. I was going to ask him, what do we do in order to make the release permanent? And I got my answer. We have to see the three characteristics. So we have to see that the mind is the three characteristics. Until it is sufficient, then permanent release will happen. We cannot force this. When the mind finally releases the mind, then all the other aggregates will be released along with it, because all of the aggregates arise out of the mind. Vinyan, conditions, nama rupa, nam, roop, the arising of the five aggregates. If we can release the mind, then we release all five aggregates. If we would like to release and never pick them back up again, we need to see clearly that in each of the five aggregates there is but impermanence, suffering, and non-self. We need to see this regarding the mind itself. That is the most subtle, the most profound, and the hardest to see. It is harder to see than Vedana, and harder to see than Sankhara. It is because the mind, or Vinyan, is not something that is dirty. It is light and weightless. And it is the knower, the awakened and radiant one, all within itself. It is automatically that way. It looks so good, thus it is extremely difficult to see that this mind is suffering itself, that it is actually a bad thing. It is this knower mind, the mind that is the knower, that is awake and radiant. It is so bright, light, and beautiful. It is peaceful and bright. But we have to penetrate deep within it to see that it is actually not pure and clean. This beautiful knower mind is merely peaceful and bright, but not pure. Why is it peaceful? Because nothing is dirtying it, manipulating it, or decorating it. Within itself, it's peaceful and bright and light. So, when we see this, when we are practicing, nobody will release it. One day, I was sitting with Luang Pu Dun. Usually, when I just say Luang Pu, that means Luang Pu Dun. If it is other masters, I will say their name. So I was sitting with Luang Pu and practicing. And then after a long time of sitting, he said, I have contemplated, and most of the well-known practitioners have attained only becoming a large ghost. Large ghosts, what are those? Those are Brahma deities. He's referring to Anagami, or non-returners. Non-returners are not all the Brahma Sutta-Vasa realm. Some of them are in the lowest level of Brahma deity, called Brahma Parisatja. That is the lowest level, followed by the Brahma Purohita. Then there is the Mahabrahmas. There are 16 levels of Brahmas. Non-returners can be born in any of them, except one, the unconscious being level. Not all are born in the Brahma Suttavasa level, as commonly misunderstood. Those that are in the Brahma Suttavasa realm, those are non-returners that are competent in the fourth jhana and also have very strong spiritual faculties. There are 5 levels of Suttavasa, each corresponding to a different one of the spiritual faculties. If there is strong faith, then they reside in the first Suttavasa level. If there is strong effort, then the second. If there is mindfulness, samadhi, and wisdom as a strength, then they appear in the third, fourth, and fifth, respectively. Non-returners whose strength is faith are born in that first level and can remain non-returners for a very long time. With faith as their main strength, their power will not be strong enough to see the 3 characteristics of the mind with crystal clarity. Faith is intoxicating, or those with efforts as their strength may not have the wisdom necessary yet. So it will take some time. The non-returners in these lower Brahma Titi realms take very long to enlighten, often just before their death. Unlike the 5th level, Akanita, these are non-returners who have achieved the 4th jhana and have the strong faculty of wisdom. Many of these beings, when human, think they have enlightened. When they die, they realize that they had not yet. Then they wonder, why is it that it is not over yet? The mind is still caught in something. Then they need to observe inside, see the truth, and enlighten quite quickly from this realm as an arahant. They have strong abilities with wisdom. If wisdom is not strong, then it takes a long time. Seeing that the mind is suffering itself is not an easy thing to do. Observing the body is easy. Observing the Vedana and the Sankhara are not too difficult. They are not easy, but they are not so hard. If we observe them, they are difficult to see the truth of because we neglect to observe them. When we are happy, we are just lost in the enjoyment. When we are unhappy, sad and moping, and neglect to see that the heart is sad. When the mind is wholesome, we gloat and beam. When the mind is unwholesome, like when it is angry and we are irritated and not liking something, it is not equanimous. When we are greedy, when we can be happy and satisfied, so we are not going to observe ourselves. The mind is lost and cannot see anything. These are easy things to see, but seeing that this beautiful knower mind is suffering itself is not an easy thing at all because it is so good. It is the best thing possible that one can experience as a worldly being. The mind that is knowing, awake, and radiant is the happiest thing achievable in the world. So seeing that it is not a pinnacle of goodness is not easy. We must be very observant, very brave in order to see it. So gradually train the mind, and then when it truly sees the truth, it will release. When it releases with the highest wisdom, seeing the truth that the mind is suffering itself, then once releasing, it will never retrieve the mind again. Releasing, retrieving, releasing, retrieving. That's because it does not really know that it is suffering. It still thinks that the mind is something special, and so it grabs it again. When some masters are approaching the end in their practice, this beautiful knower mind that is happy morphs right into suffering. The mind that was the knower and awake and delightful, having so much happiness, the highest happiness, turns right into suffering. But the suffering does not disappear. When defilements arise, the mind suffers. When the defilement is seen, it disappears. Yet, when this knower becomes the sufferings, it does not disappear. The more it is observed, the more suffering it becomes. It suffers so much, it is like a mountain landing on you and then gliding away at you. Not just sitting still, that mountain, but gliding as well, that extent of suffering. That is when the mind will release. It will know clearly that this mind is not something good or special. It is suffering, proper. Some masters see that it is suffering because it is impermanent. They see that this knower mind is happy, then all of a sudden it switches to suffering. This knower mind is not something that is reliable. It is impermanent. Other masters see that the mind is under oppression, like a mountain that is grinding against you. Yet other masters see that there is no point, no rhyme or reason to it, and he or she disposes of it. There was one master that I learned from. He said that he was practicing one day, and his mind grabbed the knower mind and tossed it up like garbage. He said it was like taking your hand, grabbing a wad of grass, pulling it up with the earth, and then tossing it out. Liberation occurred right then. He told me that he was so blissful that tears would pour from his eyes, and this happiness lasted over a year. After a year or so, the mind got accustomed to this state of having liberated, and then became equanimous. He said, "So, I am this way now. I am nothing. I have not, and I am not in this way." He taught me that, so I thought I would share it with you. So it might be useful one day. It will not be useful quite yet, but that's okay. Keep the 5 precepts. Do your meditation each day and do not neglect it. Do it each day. Then train to have your mind aware with you as much as possible. Once the mind is aware, then learn the truth of the body and mind. When the mind is rooted in awareness, we can observe and see how the body is and how the mind is in any moment. You can observe the body or you can observe the mind. In the beginning, choose whatever you like. Use what you are competent at. Luang Pu Dun did not teach me to observe the body. He had me start with observing the mind, but he did not teach everybody that way. Many monks and lay people were taught to observe the body first. Some he asked to repeat Putto, some to breathe, some to contemplate their bones and such things. Each monk, each person was taught something different. So Luang Pu Dun did not teach exclusively to observe the mind. If we say that Luang Pu Dun taught to only watch our mind, that's undermining his teaching. His wisdom and understanding was incomparable. Your wisdom is very little, and so he would teach you what was appropriate for you, whatever you could accept. So he would teach each person differently. When going to see him, I said, "Luang Pu, I want to practice." He sat and closed his eyes for a long time, for an hour, sometimes almost an hour. When he would open his eyes, he would teach what to do. He would teach each person differently, just a sentence or 2 per person. He taught me 3 sentences the first time. He said, "You have studied many books. Now study your own mind." He said, "The practice is not difficult. It's only difficult for those who do not practice. You have read and studied many books and now study your own mind." That's all he taught. Luang Pu taught some people to observe merely 1 strand of hair. Not 2 strands, just the 1. The monk then observed all of his hair and all of his body, and he did that for 3 months. There was no success, no results. Then it was time to go to visit Luang Pu. So he hurried to do his homework and observe 1 strand of hair. Immediately his mind entered deep meditation and he was able to develop wisdom. Observing the hair is not vipassana, but the mind can achieve meditative states that way. Some monks observe the bones. They will do walking meditation until they see the body is just a skeleton walking. For one monk, there were 5 skeletons walking. There was the one main one, and then 4 others as visions walking with him. 5 skeletons walking together. He was not afraid of ghosts. The ghosts were afraid of him. When they saw him, ghosts usually have just one set of bones, but he had 5. Luang Pu taught each person differently. Those that publish books of Luang Pu's teaching would add some commentaries to their own. They would soil his work. They are not pure and have others' words and opinions in them. If we ask what the Luang Pu taught, he taught each person differently. He taught me as I mentioned. The principles were: do not send the mind out, and have wisdom see the mind, like the eyes see forms. He was making an analogy. Wisdom sees the mind in the same way that I see forms. Then he taught the causes must be eliminated, the results must be eliminated, and when all debts are paid off, one is free from the cause of birth. The last time I ever saw him, he taught me, upon meeting the knower, destroy it. Upon meeting the mind, destroy it. Only then will true purity reveal itself. If we are a knowledgeable listener, then we will understand the steps he is talking about. When he says, having wisdom see the mind, just like eyes see forms, he's not talking about mindfulness. He's talking about jnana, which is wisdom. When the eyes see a form, we are not choosing what form to look at, whether appealing or unappealing forms. There is a form, there are eyes, there is light, there is interest in looking. The form then appears. There is no intention of choosing which form to see. The mind is similar here. There are different components. There's an object of consciousness. There's contact. There's an inclination. There's sense contact. And so there is the experience of the object. It could be a pleasant or unpleasant object. The mind does not choose this. So what do we do if there is no choice? Then we just know the object is present in the same way that the eyes see forms. Once the eyes see forms, when the mind is pleased, then we know so. If it is displeased, then we know so. The mind sees objects like the eyes see forms. This means once the object is known and the mind being pleasant, we know so. And the mind feeling unpleasant, and we know so. He taught us to have wisdom see the mind in the same way that eyes see forms. It is not just seeing with mindfulness. If we bring our mindfulness to state directly at the mind, it is samatha, keeping it still, or spacious or empty. We don't get anywhere. We can use it for rest, that's all. So most people that observe the mind directly are focusing on the mind and holding it still. They are not developing wisdom. They do not have wisdom seeing the mind like eyes see forms. The eyes do not choose which forms to see. Once there is a form seen, when the mind is pleased or displeased, we do not choose that either. It just happens by itself. So when the mind makes contact with objects, if happiness, unhappiness, good or bad states arise, however it is, just know that it's that way. That's wisdom seeing the mind is the same way that eyes see forms. We do not move in to interfere. Why do most practitioners interfere? Because they see suffering arise and they try to find ways to make it go away. Or when happiness comes up, they wonder, what can I do to make this stay? When they see wholesome states arise, they want to find ways to keep it and to make it arise often. When they see unwholesome states, they think, what do we do to have it not arise? And if it does arise, how do I make it disappear? So there's just doing and doing and doing. The word seeing escapes them. So have wisdom see. The verb is to see, nothing else. So let's keep practicing and training. One day we'll see the truth that these 5 aggregates are suffering. We will see this stage by stage. When we see it, we will release and be liberated from suffering. In that moment, the mind will encounter true shanti, true peace, true happiness. Some masters call it Amata Dhamma, the death-free Dhamma. If we have not practiced deeply, then what I am saying now will just make us dizzy about true Dhamma and the Dhamma element. So that's enough for today then. Be careful of COVID. Do not drop your guard. This morning, my attendant, Ajahn R, had me look at the regulations set out by the government of Chonburi. This is the 9th day that there is no infection in the province. Actually, that was yesterday, the 9th day. Then it mentioned that if anybody from Chonburi was at the Bangkok market within particular dates, then go test for COVID right away at your nearest hospital. So if we are careless, we will encounter COVID here again because the vaccines have not been administered here yet. So we cannot be careless yet. Chonburi also continues to recommend that we keep our distance. Wash our hands, wear masks, and scan our phones when entering businesses. So these are the 4 recommendations. Each province has its own regulations. They are similar, but they use different language. Chonburi has its own way of speaking. It's become popular. Not that Chonburi is any better than any other province. This world is just a temporary place to reside. One day it's bye-bye. You do your thing, and I'll move on according to my karma. Everybody separates from each other in that way. That's enough for today.